Just after 5 o'clock, Monday afternoon, Edmonton Sports Leader TSN 1260. Jason Greger, Jason Strudwick with you as we are a few days away from the 2021 expansion draft for the Seattle Kraken. A few little housekeeping notes on the draft because people have asked us. So if Seattle signs Adam Larsson, which they're able to do, they can sign any free agent before the draft. If they sign that free agent, he counts as the player that they take from that team. However, if you want to claim a player and then risk it, you can wait until the 28th, then they would sign. So basically, they have this open window until 8 a.m. on the 21st. Actually, it's not right before the draft. You have to sign the player before 8 a.m. After that point, then the draft starts, right? You submit your list. And those players who are UFAs will then revert back to exclusive rights of the team who has them. And then on the 28th, you could sign him. So in theory, if you're like, hey, we really like this guy, hey, well, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. But, you know, do they want to take that many players? We'll see what happens. Vegas, that's why they signed Derek Englund back. That he basically counted as the player from Calgary. Mm-hmm. And we'll see. So there, if indeed, you'll know the Seattle, because they'll have signed Larson prior to the draft. I don't think that's going to happen, but at least from conversations I've had, I think he really wants to test the market potentially. Doesn't mean he can't re-sign in Edmonton, but I think there's he's at least going to think about it again and weigh all his options. As we get to the Rashog Report, brought to you by GS Construction. Actually, no, that's going to come up in 5:20. We'll switch it up. Let's get to Tell Me I'm Wrong, because I was just wrong on that, but Tell Me I'm Wrong. Brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling, home of the no payments, no interest for 1 year on your AC unit. Don't be a sweaty mess. Go to legacyheating.ca and they'll help you cool off.
The Jason Greger Show presents Tell Me I'm Wrong.
You know, it was great to watch the Euro Cup, to see, the soccer, how it came together, and, each game gaining importance, gaining intensity, the players, tired after the many games and a bit of traveling and all that stuff. Italy, England didn't disappoint to go early. Then Italy battles back and gets the tying goal. Extra time didn't settle anything. So they go to the penalty kicks. And I, as a former athlete, have a hard time accepting the fact that a penalty kick like that decided the champion of that tournament. In in basketball, they don't have a free throw competition after the first, 15 minutes of overtime. In baseball, there's no, home run derby if it goes past 12 innings, and just got to pitch and see who can hit the furthest ball or hit the most home runs on 5 pitches, let's say. In hockey, yes, there are shootouts in regular season, just so there's a finite time. A lot of times that's also able to get the road team out of town. But in playoffs, you keep going till you drop. I believe in soccer, although it has been a tradition for a long time. I would think it would be more fair to have it settled by players on the field, the full team versus the full team. I recognize it could go on for a long time. Maybe you could adjust it. I don't know if you want to take players off. You start with the 11 and down to 10 or 9, whatever the number is, or you start the ball in certain positions where it's very, meaningful or a higher chance of a goal being scored. But I don't like the fact that you play all of those games and it comes down to a kick and a goalie who's guessing which way you're going to turn. Boys, tell me I'm wrong.
Go ahead, Cons.
Struddy, I actually, as a bitter England fan, maybe I could make a case. But no, I mean, I feel like this game could just go on for so long if you do so. And it would be interesting to see how teams might change because, I mean, there are teams that play for penalties. We saw it in the semifinal when England was up against Denmark, where you could tell the strategy was let's just play defense, force it if we can. In penalties, we have a better shot. So I think if you took that away, it could change the strategy of the game and maybe force those teams to try to, find ways to generate offense. But I have no issue with it. You play your 90 minutes of regulation plus the penalty time, of course, and you've got the 2 15-minute halves of extra time. There's plenty of time there to put one in. I just think you'd be risking it, and games could go for so long. I don't feel there's a need to change it. It was a dramatic. I loved how that ended, and I'm an England fan. It sucked that they lost, but the way that finished, I thought it was great.
Greg's?
like soccer's a little bit different than hockey. The game, Connor's valid, the game could go on, but that's just like, overtime goes on. The odd time long, right? There's obviously more goal potential in hockey than there ever is in soccer for the most part. But, yeah, I don't love the shootout, but I can see why if they're going to do that, then they have to have unlimited substitutions. That's the thing. You have to add that in to say, okay, once we're into overtime, it's unlimited substitutions because the fatigue factor. Hockey players get to rest. They're changing every shift. So that, to me, you'd have to make two significant changes. Unlimited substitution if you want to have overtime.
No, and that's fair. And I understand. Like I talked to some soccer people and they said they don't remember a time when there wasn't penalty kicks. And I'm sorry if I said World Cup. I think I said Euro Cup at some point, but whatever. Just talk a tournament in general. For me, it's about finishing it with the same with the sport and not finishing with kicks, because the kicks is a completely different setup. It's 1 versus 1. It's not 12 versus 12. It's completely different. And maybe soccer field fans don't mind it. Maybe the soccer head honchos, they don't care either, or they like it this way. I'm not sure. I'd be very interested to hear next time we have Steve Sander. I'll have to ask him on it. But it just becomes a completely different thing. Like I said, other sports don't finish with home run derbies, 3-4 championships, or shootout in the NHL.
Did international hockey not used to end out in shootouts?
Yeah, that's true. You think about when
I remember. I forget what it was, but I think Paul Correa had a big one. Even in World Juniors, like the drama you got from Jonathan Taves at the World Juniors when he was taking all those shots. I think it adds to the entertainment, but also the fact that these guys, after 90 minutes of regulation, then another 30, you're gonna have them keep playing. I feel like Gregor says, you're going to have more substitutions, and then you're taking off your star players. Are you keeping some guys just in case it gets to that point where you want to have a really good player get in for that late boost? I don't know. I guess that adds a little more strategy to it, but I like it the way it is. I love, you have plenty of time to score. If you can't do it then we're going to get some of the best drama in sports when it goes to penalties.
Yeah, and it does. And it was very exciting. I'm not, as a fan, I get it. It was a lot of fun. But I wonder if the players, I guess that's all they've known, right? And, again, I'm not saying it's wrong. I would love to know what the player stance is. Would they rather just play it out? And the play out might take, you're right, another 60 minutes. I don't know what it is. But, it's because it's not the same sport. It's a different, how many shots do you have in a game? If you have, 10 shots and 3 or 4 on net, that probably a pretty decent thing. So there's not a lot of shooting in soccer, and all of a sudden it just becomes all about the shots. And the poor goalies are just diving around trying to make save and the posts, and the drama is very high, and maybe that's what that draws eyes to the matches, right? And that's what they'll remember, and for the next time they'll tune in. And I guess at the end of the day they need eyes on it. But I'd be very interested to know what real hardcore soccer people believe. They'd have it. Here's an interesting one from Dano. Hey guys, why don't they remove offsides in overtime? It'd be more exciting. Yeah, maybe that would be something to look at.
Just for your question about shot study, England only had 2 on target in that game. Italy had 6.
Yeah, so there's 8 shots total, and then
on target.
On target. Sorry, and then there's 10, that are, done, just to finish the game off. So it's a different game. And again, I'm not sitting here judging soccer / football, whatever. It's great, but I just, there's some text coming in here that people are kind of on both sides. But I don't know how you get that feeling to be finished truly in the sense of the game.
I would never. Well, go ahead, Gregor.
No, yeah, it's never ideal. That's, it's the one thing I like about the NHL. I've seen some people say, oh, after one period of overtime, go to a shootout. Please, goodness, never have that happen. Never, ever. That just adds to the battle of attrition, is the rare long overtime games. 100%. That's part of it. Now, soccer's never had it, so I can understand people saying, well, they've never had it. They don't need it. right? And so there's some validity to that too, right? Like penalty kicks that's always how it's being decided, right? So I get it. Goals are obviously more rare in soccer, so I understand it. And the only way you could do it is if you made unlimited, because otherwise the players, like, there's just no rest. It's completely different, and it's actually dangerous. And in hockey, the players get to rest.
No, 100%, and I can't complain. But the next time we have Steve Sander on, we're gonna get to the bottom of this one, because I was actually thinking about him and why this happens.
Some people saying it should be like minor hockey week, take a player off. I think you kind of touched on it in your rant. I would absolutely hate that for the game, but I think it would be entertaining. Huge field with 5-on-5, be back and forth. The guys would be dying from all the running they'd be doing, but it'd be fun.
It's a huge amount of running. I mean, I couldn't imagine, like, if you think of 3-on-3 or stuff like that. Like, it's just crazy. In hockey, how much space there's now. You put 5-on-5 on that huge amount. But again, I'm not sure that I don't want people to think I'm trying to change the sport. I would just love to know what they think, how they feel about it, the athletes and the soccer head honchos. But I think the dramas you pointed out, Connor, probably is why they keep it in.
5:20. Rashog will join us next, and man, it is interesting with each passing day the thoughts about the potential Carey Price to Seattle. I'm saying it makes sense. You got to remember, Carey Price agreed to waive his no movement clause, so because there's a chance Seattle could claim him. I really think he likes the area. Right, his family, his wife's from Tri-Cities. It's right there.
Yeah, you do. But what does Montreal do? Like, that's that's a lot of money off the cap.
Well, that's exactly it.
But they got to refill a new goalie.
They're taking the risk that Seattle wouldn't have done it. And then, they throw out the injury thing, what have you. I think this is them just saying, you know what? Hey, we're trying to save some cap space, and if it doesn't happen, then they'll look out and they'll go sign Allmark, or they'll go after Grubauer. Two guys are likely going to test the market. So it's a little bit of a risk for them for sure. There's a risk both ways, and that's why it's a game of cat and mouse to see who's going to bite. I love it. Let's get to Rashog Report next. You can text us at 10-1260 or email us in our Jiffy Lube inbox, jgregor@tsn1260.ca. Make sure your vehicle is road trip ready and stop by your neighborhood Jiffy Lube before you hit the open road this week and this summer. Keeping you moving all summer long. Jiffy Lube. 5:29, Edmonton Sports Leader, TSN 1260. Jason Gregor, Jason Strudwick, Connor Halley with you. Whew. Not a good first inning for the Jays.
Oh, boy.
Jeez. Where's, Connor Halley's probably seething at the station. Your Remchuk might have just thrown his the remote at the TV as the Jays give up a six-pack. and they're not even out of the first inning yet. So tough one for... Strickland was on the mound, was he not, Con Man?
Yeah, it was Stripling Renfro hitting a grand slam.
Yeah, Stripling, sorry. Oof. Not good. He's been actually pretty good for the Jays this year, but hey, it happens every now and then. You don't get off to a great start, so just a little bit of a hole. 1 out, 6 runs in. So not a great start for sure tonight. Let's get to the Rashog Report, brought to you by GS Construction, as they are hiring, lots of career opportunities there. And look at it as a career, not just a job, but they like to promote from within. Mike Dirtle was their director now, but he started out as a laborer. Then he moved up to topman, foreman, superintendent, the main director. Check it out at Indeed.com under GS Construction. Ryan Rashog from TSN joins us. Him and Struds both allegedly shot 84s last week on the course. So
85.
Oh, is it 85? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Shogger, there's lots happening.
Can I ask Struddy a quick question?
Yeah.
So maybe you guys have talked about this on the show in the past, but it was brought to my attention. Some friends went out for like a nice evening out, and one of the fun activities they do is like an escape room here in town. And they said that there was like this story that needed to be told ahead of time to set up the escape room, and that it was none other than Jason Strudwick on the television screen setting up the story.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Is this a little side gig, Struddy, or like what's happening here, pal?
You know, Well, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I did dinner television. I know many people watched it. And they had us come out, and they taped it. It was like the idea was that it's like, I don't remember if it was an apocalypse, and we were like the news reporters talking about it. And that's how it intros the escape room part. I can't believe they're still doing it. That's like 5 years ago or more I've been doing that.
How many times did it take you to get the script?
Well, I nailed it. My winger I think it was Courtney Terry. He had a lot of problems. He was pretty nervous, right? I'm used to the big screen, not a big deal.
Yeah.
But
so you got your first big job in a theme park, pal. Way to go.
I love it. I got to go try it out. I did the escape room once, and I was useless. My brother-in-law and his wife, they nailed it for us, but I was absolutely useless in there. Couldn't handle the pressure.
Yeah, it's you learn a lot about yourself and your friends by going into an escape room with them. What I've learned is seldom do I solve the puzzles, but I'm very good at solving people problems. If there's any infighting in the group, I'm good at delegating like, hey, you go over here and do this. I'm kind of the general that's in charge of everybody around me, and then the worker bees do their thing. Yeah, I'm
right.
Kind of the guy in charge.
High praise for yourself.
The guy who does nothing but then takes all the credit when it gets done. Okay.
Congratulations.
I like that.
And Struddy is the mascot that's on the TV screen.
I like to call it the eye candy.
Yeah, right.
Edmonton Oilers, lots happening here. There's no surprise. Most of us had the list here for weeks on who they were going to protect, and there was some people worried about Tyler Benson. I'm not sure that's a realistic option for Seattle at all. But hearing some rumblings on potential, Zach Cassian deal possibly. Obviously, they've yet to sign Adam Larson, so there's a lot that could happen here in the next week. Shager.
Yeah, for sure. And, as I reported today on Larson, the player needs to make up his mind. And I think as you and I talked about this last week, Greggs, sometimes these guys get to a point in their career where they've earned the opportunity to go to unrestricted free agency and take a look around. And that's not something that is easy to pass up. It's a pretty good opportunity. Now, the thing about Adam Larson is this. He's kind of operating on his own timeline, right? He wasn't in a huge rush. I think he took a real good chunk of time away where he was away and, not to be bothered and completely out of the mix. I think they've been working on this for a little bit here, but Larson is taking his time. He's taking all the time that's available to him, and he hasn't made up his mind. And that kind of gives people the sense that, well, maybe it won't happen, but he could wake up tomorrow and go, yeah, no, I'm good. And it's still very, very possible that he signs with Edmonton. He has not made his decision yet. And I think I know there are multiple offers on the table that they believe are fair offers, good offers, and, a couple of different offers based on term and dollars, and they're there for the taking if he wants them, and it's up to him to decide if he wants to test the market or if he wants to stay. But at this point, I think it's premature to say it's unlikely that he signs.
Yeah, no, it's just he's taking his time. And hey, I think Edmonton knows how important he is because there's not a lot of Larsons available in free agency or even technically via trade right now, and there's no one in the organization that will play the role that he plays.
Yeah, for sure. He's valuable. He's a key part of the leadership group, right? He fits in well with that group. He's well liked in the room, well respected. He's an accountable player. Yeah, there's lots to like about Adam Larson, and when he's healthy, he can bring a lot of value. So, I think they've prioritized him, right? They prioritized him ahead of Tyson Barrie. So, I think if they start to get the indication that Larson may be going to market, I don't think the Oilers can. It's not ideal for them to have both Barrie and Larson go to market at the same time. So I think what's happened here is they've prioritized the deal with Larson. It's probably taking a little longer than they would like. But if they get the indication that Larson is in fact going to go to market, and they'll probably have to put his camp on a bit of a timeline, then they'll circle around on Barrie. But I don't think that there are simultaneous negotiations happening where you're very far down the path with Tyson Barrie in terms of term and dollars. I don't think you can do that while at the same time be as far down the path as they are with Larson. So I think if Larson is going to go to market, then they'll get more aggressive on Barrie. But to this point, my sense is they're not that far down the path with Barrie at all at this moment.
Joined by Ryan Rachaga, talking all things NHL and Oilers related here on TSN 1260. Chager, if Larson doesn't sign, that to me is just throws the whole defense into a flux. Because and so you maybe go find Barrie, and if Barrie's the guy, let's say they can't get Barrie done. You got Barrie, Bear, and Bouchard, the killer bees on the right side. Your left side now has to be big and heavy, because that's not what they are on the right side. And now you got to go find out maybe someone more significant for that third pairing. They can play a little bit more rough and tumble and still make plays. Like, is it this would be a difficult outcome for Ken Holland, what he thought was, or maybe hoping would be a somewhat kind of done deal with Larson.
Yeah, I mean, he plays a style that they don't have a lot of right now. So Darnell Nurse, obviously, we all know what he does over on the left side there. Duncan Keith's game isn't rooted in that style in any way, shape, or form. He's a different type of player. Tyson Barrie brings lots of offense, but leaves a little bit to be desired defensively. Evan Bouchard, quite frankly, hasn't proven anything yet. So, I mean, is he even going to be in the lineup regularly next season? Looks like it. Looks like he's got some good game there, and if he gets the confidence going. But, I mean, yeah, so it definitely thins things out quite a bit. And Barrie, Bouchard on the right is not ideal. You got two guys who should probably be running your top unit power play, a power play that needs to have four forwards on it. So, okay, now you're going to say to Barrie, all right, you start every power play, but then come off because you need to get Bouchard on there. Well, guess what? Darnell Nurse also likes to have some power play time, and it's produced pretty darn well from that spot at times, too. So now you've got Darnell Nurse wondering where his lot in life is on the man advantage because he's got Barrie and Bouchard sitting there. So, yeah, the dynamic is very different with two offensive-minded right-shot defensemen like that who need power play time, and Darnell Nurse in a contract year. It gets odd. And so, yeah, not ideal, but we'll see what happens with Larson here. I mean, maybe the Oilers swoop in last minute and try and sweeten the offer a little bit and leave nothing to chance, or maybe they're confident in the offers they've made and they'll let it lie where it lies. Like, what do you guys think of the power play? What do you think of the power play dynamic? If Barrie re-signs and it's Barrie and Bouchard and Nurse on a power play that needs four forwards.
Yeah, it's an interesting. What would happen is two of those defensemen would be on the second unit. I think Barrie would start. Barrie would start. You would have when he comes off, Bouchard comes on. And maybe then Nurse comes on, and they have two defensemen on the second unit, but their second unit just doesn't get much playing time, right? So
now you're pulling Nugent Hopkins off, right? You're pulling Nugent Hopkins off to get the other D-man on because you still want a net front guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think the other thing too is the penalty killers, like who you need, because I can't see Bouchard killing penalties, and so that's why I say that third side left defenseman, because Keith and Nurse are going to kill penalties. You need another guy on that, like someone legit. And do you want Rusty playing with Bouchard all year? Or is Rusty your seventh guy? So you got to go. Is it Willie Lagesson at 6? Well,
Willie Lagesson,
it might be someone else.
An NHL defense.
You need more guys. So I think that's where, like, to me, this and Greg, you're not wrong when you say that he was so important to sign. He because he affects that makeup so much. And then if Larson leaves. And let's say they assume they can sign Tyson Barrie, and let's say Jujar gets picked up and Cassian gets traded. A team that was somewhat difficult to play against, unless those players are replaced, Chager, looks much, much different next year.
Yeah, I'm not quite as convinced on a Cassian trade. I think a Cassian trade is tied directly to the caliber of free agent the Oilers have the opportunity to bring in. So if they have the chance to hit something big, then that'll mean Cassian has to go. And if they have offers on the table for Cassian, I don't think that happens unless there's free agents coming in that are at a pretty high price. I think they want Cassian. I think they need what he brings to the lineup. I think if they don't have him, then Darnell Nurse suddenly has to take care of a bunch of business he's got no business taking care of. I just think Cassian serves a purpose, and they would like to keep him now. If they think they can be in the mix on Landeskog or on, a high-end winger or something like that, and Cassian's number has to go, then I could see that trade happening. But why would you just trade him until you know what you're spending
100%.
elsewhere?
Yeah, no, it'll be fascinating to see. All I know is the Oilers got some work to do in the next week for sure. Schauger, have yourself a good one. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Have a great night, guys.
There you go. Man, this game's looking like it's all offense, baby. Could be all offense.
They pounded them last time. Weren't the Jays in there pound them like 18-0 or something like that?
They did score a lot, yeah. But Boston's up 8-0 at the midway through the first. But the Jays now have runners on first and second with no out, and Vladdy comes up. So hey, this could be last pitch wins, last pitch loses, I guess you could say. That was the Rashog Report, brought to you by GS Construction. Whew, it's almost like Turan Sandwith is playing defense for the Blue Jays, just getting beat left and right. Oh, no, we're just kidding, old Turan. Oh, that'd be you and Struddy as a deep air. Got a great bunch of guys. If you like to have fun, you want to have a great job with lots of opportunities to move up, go to GS Construction. Check them out at Indeed.com. 47, Gregor, Strudwick, Connor, Hal is. We roll through a Monday afternoon. Tomorrow on the program, we'll have more on the NHL. Lots of rumblings out there right now. Lots of rumblings, to see what happens. A few things to clarify as we get to the oil report, brought to you by Volvo of Edmonton, where you can lease an XC40 with only $259 bi-weekly payments. Basically, what Struddy spends on chapstick every month, only at VolvoEdmonton.com. And Struddy, belated happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
I didn't know. Connor and I were just realizing now. Struddy takes a week off for his birthday. He's one of those guys.
Yeah, had to.
He's one of those guys, needs a week off for his birthday. And I saw the cake that they made you with the big Blistex. But I was curious, what flavor was inside?
I was chocolate inside. I love chocolate. But yeah, a friend of mine, she had her friend make it. I couldn't believe they wheeled it out, and it was a literally carbon copy of a Blistex tub.
Oh, I saw it. I saw your
ridiculous.
picture. It was pretty good.
I couldn't believe it. I was so jacked.
Like, did you try to stuff it in your ultra-tight jeans pocket?
Yeah, honestly, I would have. It was so good. And I couldn't believe I was like, because usually my mom makes all the desserts, right? And she's really good. And then I saw this come on, like, what is this? Then this big blue tub. She did a good job. So it was tasty. So I had a little bit today. I'll probably have a little more tonight.
Mm-hmm. I can't believe he didn't bring a piece of cake. Unbelievable, Con? Sitting here, he doesn't even bring me a piece of his birthday cake. Unbelievable. I'll remember that. Jeez, I give him cookies, nuts. There, can't even get a piece of cake. Now, the Oilers, a few things to clarify here. So right now, the Oilers can't sign Adam Larson. They could sign him after Wednesday. They can't sign him here in the next few days. People are asking, can they sign him? No. It's a roster freeze for every team except Seattle. Seattle has the option to talk to their players, except Vegas. They can't talk to any of Vegas' UFAs. Vegas is just getting win after win after win. So that's where it's at. Once the draft occurs on Wednesday, then the window teams, if all of a sudden Alex Ovechkin signs in Washington, and Alexiak signs in Dallas, and hey, maybe Adam Larson signs between Thursday and next Wednesday in Edmonton. It's very plausible.
Sure.
Right? Like, I think it might go down to the final wire here. Remember that Steven Stamkos, when he signed, was June 29th, 2 days before free agency. Mm-hmm. So, some guys just like to wait it out and explore all their options, right? So now Larson, the only team that can talk to him right now legally is Seattle. But I'm just going to say this right now on the record. If you think other teams haven't expressed interest in Adam Larson and there might be some communication, you are fooling yourself. He'll have the opportunity to know what other teams think of him. No question about it. So we'll kind of see where that goes. As for the Edmonton Oilers, Chris Russell, Jujhar Khaira, Tyler Benson are probably the three options right now, unless Seattle signs Larson. If they sign Larson, he's considered their draft pick. So you don't lose Larson and another player. Any player who's signed between now and the draft by Florida, and they can sound them, they're considered the player that they will draft.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Right, so Chris Driedger, it sounds like he'll be the player from Florida. Mm-hmm. And they will just trot him out, I would guess, at the press conference. Yeah. I think you will see a few players there. But the Edmonton Oilers, I don't think they're in a position to lose any major piece of their team, Struddy. But I don't think you're going to see Koskinen or James Neal. I know many Oilers fans were hoping that might happen, but it's highly unlikely. I think a James Neal buyout is probably likely between the 22nd to the 27th. That's very likely to happen. Just like I think it's likely James Neal will re-sign for $1 million, $1.5 million with another team and score 15 goals I wouldn't be surprised to see that either. But for the Oilers, when you look, Struds, obviously after, let's just assume Larson, in a perfect world, they sign him.
Sure.
Who, when you look at the free agents, like who would be the number one guy you'd want to get, and at what term?
So I'm talking a left shot defenseman.
Oh, no, you can talk a defenseman, you can talk a winger. Like, let's say Larson signed in Edmonton, right? We assume he's signed in Edmonton. What do you think would be priority number one in free agency? Or I guess a trade.
I'm looking at that third line center spot. They've had two fourth lines for too long.
Okay.
They need to address that. I like Phil Deneau. The problem is I just think that number's going to be pretty high. I'm looking at that third line. They have to have a third line, a true third line. And unfortunately, it might have to be through trade. That's what we might have to do.
Hey, I like this one. Your mom makes you dessert, Struds? How old am I? Hey,
she
you know
does.
what? Moms
Tradition.
They never outgrow. They love making birthday cakes for their kids.
It's so good. So good. I love it that she cranks it out.
Was she a little bit upset that she didn't get to make it?
I didn't ask her, but she was pounding this cake, though, that's for sure.
Then she's probably like, finally, it's God. The guy's like 50. Jeez, enough's enough, eh?
46.
Enough. That was the Oil Report, brought to you by Volvo of Edmonton. Finance rates as low as 0%, or you can save up to $7,000 off select models and cash purchases only at VolvoEdmonton.com. Struddy, welcome back. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you, everybody.
We'll talk a little NBA tomorrow, too.
Oh.
The Bucks are back, baby. The Bucks are back. Here's Connor Halley with a Sports Center update, brought to you by Polylevel Alberta. Tired of sealing your concrete every year? We'll do their one-time application, Sealant Pro. Available at polylevelalberta.com. Good night.